Hi, it's Bram here from Fitting Out Comics and Collectibles, and today's podcast is going to be about Rogue Trooper, a personal favourite of mine from the pages of 2000 AD. So Rogue Trooper is basically about a genetically engineered blue-skinned super soldier. He's carried around by his comrades, Helm, Gunner and Bagman. And they're on their search across New Earth, which is sort of a dystopian wasteland, but it's kind of a hinge point for two different armies fighting against each other. But they're on their way to find the traitor general and assassinate him. Joining us again is Brian.
Hello.
And Vaughnie.
Hello.
So let's get stuck into it straight away. What's your first interaction, Brian, with Rogue Trooper? I mean, we know it's 2000 AD, but do you have an actual memory of it?
No, not really. Not one of those characters where you sort of looked at it and I remember reading it for the first time, sort of thing. Remember always enjoying reading Rogue in 2000 AD.
Yeah.
And it being part of whatever the next launch of characters would have been, because 2000 AD used to do that. They get to a point and starting today, 5 new stories or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
That's probably how that went in the prog, to be honest.
Because when did you actually start collecting progs again properly? You were in the 200s, or something?
86 when they did the Star Wars merge.
Okay,
that was me. Yeah.
So they're already. I think they're already way into Rogue by then. I think it's 982, wasn't it?
No, Rogue was
81. Prog 228, 81.
Yeah, because when I got back into it, that would have been around 1980.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, and so was on a good run of these when Rogue appeared as one of the newer stories. Yeah. So that was me.
And what about you, Vaughn? Do you have an actual memory of it? I mean, I don't, but necessarily. But what about yourself?
Well, I don't actually remember the first time I sort of started reading it per se, but it was just always part of 2000 AD when I started collecting. It was already in there.
Yeah. And you were getting bundles right from your brother's mates or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And it was just something that was so easy to read at any point anyway, because it pretty much explained the storyline in every single prog. He looked cool. He was like a proper soldier, but a future soldier. And he always stuck out to me. It's quite funny though, you only knew he was blue from the cover because he was always black and white in the actual comic, which was always unusual. But it was just a very simple war story that I just enjoyed at the time, and it did break up from the rest of the 2000 AD progs stories, I think.
Yeah.
What about you, Brent?
I think. Well, I'm just going to say, like, the only reason I remember my introduction to him is because it was probably the first 2000 AD I'd ever bought, and it would have been in the 300s, progs in the 300s, because, like I've previously said, I never had a full run of it, but I used to get Oink and Wizard Chips and Beano and stuff like that, just randomised stuff like that, and annuals of stuff, boys' annuals from my grandparents' place, a lot of stuff like that was do you hit 'em. But the first time I actually bought a comic, probably physically myself, would have been Rogue Trooper on the cover. Because I just saw this dude who looked like he was out from Nam, Vietnam. Because like in Vietnam, you're that real iconic, the helmet's on, but the straps are undone.
Strap and
but they're like undone hanging. And it wasn't 228 or anything, but it was just a cover. I remember seeing him running with Gunner, and it just reminded me of Vietnam stuff I'd seen on watch the movies or whatever series I'd seen. And so it was in the Prog 300s. I don't know what years the 300s are going to be in. Would that be early 80s? I suppose. Earlier part of the 80s.
Mid, I think, probably, off the top of head.
So that's my first introduction to him, but probably the first time I'd ever read 2000 AD.
Prog 317, 83.
Oh, 1983. So that's pretty early. I'd only been probably 8 or 9, something like that. So. That's the first time I actually physically bought my own
coming
comic.
from things like Commando and Battle and stuff like that. It just told a similar story, but different. Which is when you're a kid, that's what you want, eh?
Yeah. So like, that, and that's probably my first introduction to it. And I wouldn't even be able to tell the story. I wouldn't even know what the story was. Because I bought them so sporadically. So you're 8, you don't even have that much money, so you buy one. I don't even know how much it was, but you buy that one, and then you might not get another one for like 2 months, 3 months, so there's no continuity to the story anyway, right?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't, and once I read Rogue 2 anyway, I wouldn't even, if I got 2000 again, I'd just basically skip most everything, just read Rogue Trooper, and that's probably it. And that because I was obsessed with war in Vietnam and stuff like this. So Road Trip, a character designed or made up by Jerry Finley Day and Dave Gibbons. So did you know what Jerry Finley Day was doing before Rogue?
Yeah,
lot.
I'd read his stuff before.
Yeah.
It was only when I was reading through some stuff before this, it
Yeah.
reminded me that he'd done the VCs.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Which was probably the first Future War story, one of the earlier Future War stories that 2000 AD had done. And when I first read it, I really didn't like it.
Yeah.
I didn't really take to it. It was partly because the art was very different. I was always more for clean art. Like Dave Gibbons' art always stood out to me.
Yeah.
And Brian Bolland's always really nice, clean lines. I kind of appreciate that. Other types, the older I got.
Yeah.
Who was the artist in VCs? Cam Kennedy? Or?
Cam Kennedy, yeah.
Yeah, Cam Kennedy.
And it was all, and I'm a really big fan of his art now,
Yeah.
and particularly in some of his Rogue stuff.
Yeah.
But that one had never really taken with me, and they always used to do polls and things in the progs themselves and go, what sort of stories do you like? Do you want to see future sport, future war, all that kind of thing? And I'd go, future war.
Yeah.
And not really be
Obviously.
too bothered.
Yeah.
And then when this came out, it was like, well, this is pretty cool. It's really kind of eye-catching. There's some really cool panels in the first story of Rogue.
Yeah.
Things that Dave Gibbons had done. It's kind of pretty eye-catching, and it's a really cool setup for a first episode. But, yeah, this will do.
Well, it's that thing when we talked about Dread, right? It's like, as a kid, you don't realise, but it's actually super ultra violent.
Yes.
Like he just rips
completely.
masks off. They suffocate to death.
Yep.
And he stabs dudes, and he blows them up, right?
Yeah.
Like with Dread, he's the law, and he just does things. They're quite violent. You see it now as an adult, right? Even in Rogue, you see things in that. It's like this dude just suffocated to death, Vaughn.
Yeah.
And Vaughn's like, oh yeah, but you don't know, you don't realise as a kid. You just see awesome action.
And as a kid, you think it's a war, and you don't really, just like Dredd, consider which one's the right side to be on.
That's
Yeah, yeah.
right.
Whether there's
You
even,
just-
whether it's even a question in your mind,
Yeah.
or whether it's who's right.
I mean,
and
you
wrong.
question that now, Noughts and Southers, right?
Yeah.
You question it now whether who was actually good or bad. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, you could easily look at it from that perspective, right? The thing I found funny with this is that Jerry Finley Day starts out cutting his teeth on Tammy. I don't know what
Yeah.
Tammy is, but I think it's romantic, like a girls' style
Girls'
magazine.
girls
Yeah.
thing like Misty and
Yeah.
things
Yeah,
like
because
that.
they all did that, like Pat Mills.
Yeah,
and so I
yeah.
thought they all wrote for that.
That's-
Yeah.
I think Paul was telling me that, or someone was
I
telling
just
me
picked
this.
up a Misty,
Yeah.
one of the Misty collections by Pat Mills, because they're actually really good stories. They were designed for girls.
Yeah.
But so what? You're sexist.
But-
Yeah. So the thing that I found there too, so he's got a pretty awesome portfolio, I suppose you call it. But so he's working for Battle Magazine, I think, and a few other war stories. And Pat Mills picks him up. So he goes into 2000 AD. He does Dread, Dan Dare, Ant Wars, Black Hawk, Disaster 1990, VCs, and an excellent one I've read, but as a short running one, Fiends of the Eastern Front, which was awesome.
yeah, definitely.
Totally awesome concept. So he already has a pretty wicked background as far as like creating war stories and stuff like this. So excellent for that. And then Dave Gibbons, he's done heaps of things as well, right? So he's Harlem Heroes, Dan Dare, Roadbusters, Judge Dredd, ABC Warriors, Road Wars, Robo Tales, and obviously in Rogue. What was Dave Gibbons doing previous to 2000 AD? He would have been in war stories as well, wouldn't he? Anyway, Drawing Battle or something like this. I don't really know anything
I
previous.
I don't remember what it was that he'd done. I hadn't seen him for any of his art before 2000 AD. I think
Yeah.
he did a Doctor Who run, but I'm not sure whether that was before or after.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So they're both pretty. I mean, if you're 2008, they're pretty established guys. So you're going to trust. I mean, if you're, I think Steve McManus is the sort of editor at the time, is he?
I think so.
He would have been obviously trust these guys to make this character, and I mean, obviously, I love the character anyway, and so two really established guys come up with a brilliant idea. We've all read Prog 1 now, obviously, as adults. When you first read that again, because obviously as an adult you remember things better, what did you reckon? Like when you read it, does it read well?
I think it reads really well.
Yeah.
I think that the setups are always great, and the way that they used to do them at the time, or if you've got the first issue of anything, or as I say, when 2000 AD they would get to a point and they'd say this prog 5 new stories start, or 3 new stories and Dread or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
They always wrote really good first episodes to hook you.
Yeah.
Just that whole idea of give me the setup. You've got 6 pages, 5-6 pages. And it's like bam, bam, bam. This.
Yeah.
Come back next week.
Yeah.
And so I think the Prog 1 reads really, really well. It's something that 2000 AD always did for me in the classic days, if you like, contentious phrase, was launching characters and doing exactly the same thing. It's like the first episode of Rogue, which I reread again during the week, and reading through that and going, everything's in here.
Yeah.
And there's a hook that says, okay, where to next?
Yeah.
And I thought that set up really well. I'm not sure if they still do it that way. I haven't read one for a long time.
Yeah. Well, I just reread it. Probably reread it a lot on Wednesday. As I said, I read it again this morning before I came out just to get in the mood for it. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what, it has everything. An excellent 2000 AD story, right?
Yeah.
It's him one-on-oneing into a turret, mechanised turret.
Yeah.
He rips the face masks or the nozzles off the Noughts. They suffocate. He then, I think he grenades. I'm trying to remember. I think he grenades the turret or whatnot, and then it's them going, "Who is this dude?" Oh, he's one of those GIs, right? And he's the only one who survived from the Quartz Zone massacre, and it. I think if I'd read it as a kid anyway, I would have been hooked regardless, even though I was into him anyway.
Yeah, such a great setup.
I just. It's even.
There's no such thing as a slow burn in 2000 AD though. There was never like, we'll get like a really slow first episode and we'll just kind of...
No, it's all action straight away.
Boom, you're right in there. Yeah.
What is it?
6 pages and it's just action packed, making you want to find out what's going to happen next week.
Completely.
It is through.
Brilliant.
It is thrill power overload, right? Like when you say that shit, if you're another comic company, you say that shit, you're like, oh yeah, with thrill power overload. It's like, come on, mate, I've read some of this stuff.
That's going to be our thing.
Read this. This is thrill power overload.
Bam.
But yeah, so what do you reckon about? I mean, it's general design. Like the first design I saw that Dave Gibbons has drawn, it's really, I don't know how you say it. It's very different. Like it's a guy with quite a big mechanised suit. It looks like, because I've just seen a sort of a headshot of it, and it's just a really sort of stocky guy, English featured guy with a helmet on and a big sort of mechanised sort of suit at the top.
All right.
If it had been that guy, I don't know if I would have been as interested,
Yeah.
because you've got a shirtless dude running with a backpack and his gun and his helmet and just a pair of basic
everybody else on the planet's in this massive great suit so that they don't die.
Yeah.
And he's just wandering around, like you say, shirt off, backpack on.
So did you ever? I mean, it's the thing I always. Oh, there it is. There. That's the thing I always say. Like, why? I question it now, but as a kid you wouldn't have. What do they want New Earth for? It's an absolute shithole.
Yeah.
Man almighty. Like when you see it, it's you can't go in the water. It's acid. You can't breathe the air. It's unbreathable. It's like, do they ever go back to tell you why they want actually New Earth? Is there a reason for that?
There's something in there, I think, about the strategic value of it or whatever.
It's a stepping stone or
stepping stone or something like that.
Always. It's
stepping
part of a
stone to actually to get onto somewhere
Maybe it's
else.
that old military argument. We need this hill because we don't want them to have that hill.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe-
it's all
maybe
strategic.
A real
like that.
Vietnam style attitude, right?
And something to hang the story on, to be honest, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, it is an absolute crap hole, and he's the only dude who can actually survive in it okay.
Because you should explain what Rogue Trooper actually is.
Yeah.
About and why he can survive on there.
Yeah, okay. So they come up with so the Southers and there's Noughts, right? There's two sides. And you've got these guys obviously want basically the perfect soldier to go down and take out strategic sites of the Northers. But they're actually not the only people with genetically modified or genetically engineered troopers, because the Noughts have them as well. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, they did them a bit later on.
All the monkey men, like cavemen.
guys. Yeah, exactly.
I don't really
And the
know.
awesome story, the awesome part of that story is that Rogue just comes along basically and goes, and they have a tussle and a bit of a fight, and he ends up strangling this dude out, this monkey man, and then they all follow him because they've been treated so bad by the Noughts. They're like, oh, well, we'll just came up. So now he's got himself a little commando team of other genetically modified troopers, Yeah.
What does he do with them?
That lasts for as long as the story needs them to.
Yeah, I can't.
Just wanders off and
I can't remember. I can't
Like
remember.
the littlest hobo.
Yeah, so I can't actually remember. I can't actually remember what they actually get up to after that, but they do side with him. I presume they go out and take out some sort of Nought position. So what's your general feeling with Rogue Trooper? do you have a favourite story for Rogue, or a favourite part of the storyline? I mean, we know that he's to chase down a traitor general because of his mates all got killed, right?
Yep.
And the Court Zone massacre. So do you have? Just me personally, I prefer the storyline right up until he kills the traitor general.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I sort of don't follow much after that. But do you have a favourite story from it?
I don't think I really have a favourite storyline as such. Some of them were quite short, and some were quite long ones. You know,
Yeah.
Millicom Blues and all those kinds of things. And then I think I liked it as long as even the secondary characters were interesting. You know, that they added
Yeah.
more things in, because it's kind of would be a little bit one note if it was just a story about
One soldier, yeah.
one soldier going to go off and find the traitor general. If they stopped it at that point, you'd go, well, you told your story.
Yeah.
But they did backstory of the GIs, and then there's all sorts of other spies and stuff that goes on, these little side stories that come out of it. There's Venus Blue Jeans,
Yeah.
all those kinds of things. Because they kept adding to it,
Yeah.
I think the other characters were interesting, and even like the biochips were quite interesting, because a lot of the time they weren't very likable. You know, Gunner's a bit of a dick, to be honest. You know, and they all have their moments. Admittedly, they're stuck inside the chips and it's kind of frustrating or whatever, but they're actually interesting characters in themselves, and that just made the story interesting for me. And then he just kept going off and having all these adventures and finding new ways to kill people on New Earth.
Yeah.
And finding these bonkers places like little, like Fort Nero, and there's Paris and all of that.
Yeah.
Just these really weird stories, most of which I probably didn't get at the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and it was just this kind of roller coaster of this long run of stories that kept going until the whole concept kind of ran out of steam.
Yeah.
And then sort of tried to reboot it and didn't really do it very well.
Yeah. No, well, I agree with you on that. I want to go back. I'll just go back to that. The other characters. So we've got Helm, who's a biochip number 1. We've got Gunner, biochip number 2, and we've got Bagman, biochip number 3. So those are all guys who were genetically modified or genetically engineered troopers as well.
Yeah.
Killed in the Court Zone massacre. So Rogue's the only one who survives. So you know how he gets those chips, right?
Yep.
Okay.
The laser scalpel and takes them out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
60 seconds to get them
I
out.
said to Vaughan, I forget that.
Yeah.
I just in my mind I can't remember that, right? But when I'm rereading, I'm like, that's really gruesome. He has to cut their head open, take the chip, because the chip's actually in their brain, right?
Yeah. You got to dig in and get it
So
out.
as soon as they're killed, it just imprints all their memories onto that biochip.
Yeah.
And then once they're fallen dead, cut that out, place it into
So the gun
a gun or a helmet, or to actually keep them alive.
Yep.
Luckily, Gunner went into the gun.
Yeah.
Helm went into the helmet. Bagman went into the bag.
Yeah, obviously.
You don't want to mess that up, do you?
So whoever named them doomed them. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
It's like, we know where you're going.
So that was another concept I really liked as a kid, right? Because when you read the first one, the first Prog 228, the very first part of it, I sort of saying to you guys before, if you read that as an adult, you'd be going, what this guy got multiple personality disorder? Because like he's like kind of talking to himself. But as a kid, I don't know how I just knew, but I just knew that was someone else on him, or something was on him that was talking to him, or like whether it was an earpiece or something. I didn't pick it up.
Of course, the gun's
straight away.
talking to him. How could it not be? Yeah.
And the thing
think about that when you were a kid, right?
Well, and the other
Which is
thing
awesome. That's happened right in the very first episode, because they don't explain why the gun's talking. They don't explain why the helmet's talking. They don't explain why the bag's talking.
No.
But you just go, oh, this is brilliant.
What's still to come?
Yeah.
And it's something I picked up and I just read it, was that you know straight away that's not necessarily the gun and everything talking, but their speech bubbles are notched, right? And like Vaughan said, it's probably like a very, a very digital way of kind of doing it, and it is the 80s, so
True.
It's a digital way. It's a digital speech pattern, isn't it? It looks more like that than if it was just in a circle. So it does create that illusion that is a machine talking.
Yeah, and so having those 3 characters, everything, all that done in the first 6 pages is insanely. There's a lot of packed in there. And as a kid, you just expect that. This is what's got. It's got to be like that. This is 2008.
2080 way.
So you have all those. You have all those characters. So what's his actual mission, Brian? You know this, right? He's got to get his mates back to be regened.
Yep.
But they also he already knows at this point someone's betrayed him, right? And that's how they got killed at Court Zone.
Yeah.
Some general's
He's
done it.
looking for the traitor.
Yeah.
Because they got ambushed.
Yeah,
at
yeah.
what became the Quartz Massacre. I'm quite
Yeah.
sure what the mission was called before. Was that?
Yeah. Non-Quartz massacre.
Yeah.
Well, parachuting into victory.
The Quartz Garage Sale.
It probably was called that. It just wasn't the way around they wanted it to go.
Well,
Well,
if you're going to name a guy gunner and you're going to end up with his biochip in the gun, maybe
Well-
you can see that far ahead.
well,
I don't
yeah.
know. Maybe you can see all this coming.
Well, to
I'm
be
not
honest,
sure.
Rogue was aptly named,
He was. Well, yeah. He got to
considering
wander around.
considering Gunner calls him Rogue. And
Yeah, that'd be
so-
ironic. Rogue ends up in the gun and he's going, why am I not the one walking around?
Shut up,
Come
Rogue.
on. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another point on that, by the way. It's not as if it wasn't creepy enough to be taking the chips out of the brains.
Yeah.
I think for all three of them, they don't die instantly. So each one of them looks at Rogue and says, do it. It's like, cut my head
I
open.
think I vaguely remember that.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's, he's got that 60 seconds or whatever it is. It's like, right. I know, I'm actually asking you to cut my head open, take my chip out,
Yeah.
stick me in the gun.
Yeah.
Oh man, as soon as I see
my
that
name's
sword,
Gunner.
I'd just be like, nah, leave me.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
I'm not letting you laser
Oh no, it's
hole
not
in
as
my
bad
head.
as it looks, mate.
Remember the time when you stole all my rations? Yeah. I'm out.
Zip.
Chip, what chip? Yeah, and so he's off to find the Trader General, and that story kind of unfolds. They tease it a little bit in the first one, I think, and then it just comes out
Yeah.
after that. Adventures ensue.
And so that whole storyline, or the premise for his story, even as it is an adult, even quite frankly, it interests me, because it's war orientated. It's revenge.
Who
It's
doesn't
your
love a revenge
it's your
storyline
typical
now?
80s scenario, right? Like if you've ever watched an action movie from the 80s or late 80s with Sylvester Stallone or Dolph Lundgren or Steven Seagal, anyone, it's always revenge. It's always like, I've got to, this is what happens to me, and something unjust has been done to me, I need to get revenge. And that's what's good about Rogue for me.
6 pages in a prog is
Yeah.
like the perfect montage for
Yeah.
that sort of 1980s kind of revenge story,
It's
isn't
a
it?
beast. When you do that much information in Prog 228, and you
Yeah.
get in, and you're like, holy shit, he's wants revenge now. We don't even know what happened to him yet.
Yeah.
But, it's,
Yeah, it's one of those ones where, just to bag on American comics because it's fun to do it.
Yeah.
If you were going to do a character like this, if you could ever pull it off from the American comics, 6 pages.
No.
You'd be getting probably 3 issues out of this
No.
just for setup. Just to
Yeah.
set that scene, explain, and you would explain all of how the biochips came to be. It takes an age for them to go back and do the flashback.
Yeah.
Really, comparatively. Well, this is when Gunner died.
Yeah.
This is when Bagman died.
Yeah.
And they did them like in separate.
So 32
separate
pages
issues.
for each bloody chip.
You'd have done all
biochip
of that,
and-
yeah, and there'd be a massive great thing, and double-page spreads of the Quartz Massacre, and all of
Yeah.
that stuff would be going on, and
Yeah.
again, the beauty of 2080, bam, you get dropped right in the middle of it, and it's just go.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what's good about that first storyline as well, because it's a big action-packed first showing of him, and then it kind of just gives you a little bit of information over the next year about what his what the storyline is, by why can he breathe the air and not others, and all the other ones have to wear gas masks. Why do the biochips talk to him, and why does he need to get to the general to bring his mates back? It's all explained fairly slowly,
Yeah.
but it's always in a really good, fast-paced war story built into that.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and it builds.
Yeah.
Those characters say they do backstory of when they were in training,
But
and
you-
there was the female GIs, and
Yep.
and even stuff with the Trader General and all of that. It all sort of builds upon itself. It's just
Good layering of story.
Exactly, yeah, really good
Yeah.
episodic stuff with these little, say, 5 or 6 part stories, which then were part of the bigger story, and he just kept going.
But
Yeah,
done so
rolling
well
on.
to keep an 8-year-old interested.
I'll focus on it.
you know?
Yeah, well, particularly when, I think we talked about this last time, is the fact that we always read them week on week, and then you read the next week. You never went, I think I barely ever went back and sort of collected 20 issues and said, I'm just going to read 20 Rogues in a run.
Yeah.
You never did it. It's like you had to keep hooked, and it reads really well when you read them as a collection.
Oh, collection, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's good about
Even though there's a hook on each 6 page,
Complete-
it
exactly.
still fits in nicely.
It still fits in and doesn't feel forced or anything. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it was literally, you had to keep an 8-year-old amused
Yeah.
and keen to read it next time around.
you can't lose them. You can't lose them. Mate. You have to have. That's what, like when Dan Dare started out 2008, right? They're like, oh, this is this standalone story that's going to help 2008 take off, right? Because everyone knew Dan Dare from the 60s
Yeah,
or
completely.
whenever he started. I can't remember.
It was.
But you got to keep them hooked, right? And that's why I think he was not that. He wasn't hugely popular at the beginning of 2008, right?
No.
But he became more genocidal and maniacal as he gets like into the later progs in the say the 50s or 40s, 50s, whatever it is.
Yeah.
He becomes.
Did he go on for that long?
runs right through he came back into the hundreds, I think it was, and yeah, that popular that they left a storyline hanging and they never resolved it.
Yeah.
It's like, in the hundreds, and 110s, 120s or whatever it was, and
Yeah.
it still bugs me that they never resolved it.
So a
And apparently
collected
nobody
omnibus
else.
doesn't have a finish.
It doesn't have an ending. Yeah, apparently nobody else cares.
But he
I think it's just me. Massive cliffhanger.
He gets like,
I'll write you an ending for you.
Could you?
Yeah.
Fan fiction. Because
Then I woke up.
yeah.
It was
Oh,
all
I just got lost. But this is a good way to read Rogue, right?
in a collection.
I'm holding up Rogue Trooper Tales of New Earth, which I got from Book Depository, but it's a good way to read any 2000 AD stuff, quite
It is.
frankly.
Yeah.
You can get right through it, because it can bloody hard to get the progs to read Rogue or any other story in it, because their conditions are not the greatest a lot of the time. Or they're missing a page where a kid's got a bit carried away and cut stuff out to glue into a montage, or a collage, or something like this.
Cut out posters like I used to.
Yeah. And the other thing, I'll just go back to Rogue, because I'm going to get off track. But with Rogue Trooper 2, the things I liked in this, the art really got me.
Mm-hmm.
The art is, I have a favourite artist, and I'm a bit probably biased on this because he's a Kiwi, and I never knew this until Vaughan actually told me probably only 3 or 4 years ago. Colin Wilson, he does really good sci-fi war stuff, and when you see his art, like Dave Gibbons and no schlub, man, the dude's good, right? But when he comes on, I think he starts in Prog 236, and he does Ascent to Buzzard 3, where he meets the generals. The first page, the detail is insane. It's super clean lines. It's very technical. It has all the things that I liked in 2000 AD artwork, like with Brian Bolland, like quite clean work. And you can just see it, like all the artwork is war orientated, but everything's very technical with Colin Wilson, and it just makes it look good. Do you have a favourite artist, or I mean, there's a few good
Looking back at it
artists
now,
on there.
and being lucky enough to be able to see them even in a collection now. You've got the Tales of New Earth, as you say, about the Ultimate Collection here, and thumbing through them. And Colin Wilson's also stands out to me. I think he would be the best of the artists, and it's almost sacrilege to say that for something where Dave Gibbons has worked on it. And you go,
I created it, right?
And all of this, but.
Turns out they're
like,
both very good friends, actually.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is brilliant. It's like, pick up what we started and run with it. Yeah, I really, really like Colin Wilson's art. I mean, Cam Kennedy's on this. I think he's terrific for this. The black and white aspect of it, I think, it's perfect. And because they all sort of draw Rogue, the character himself, the same way, within their own style. It's not like a Dread where you get them tend to the costume, these odd little variations sometimes or whatever.
Yeah.
Rogue's always pretty consistent. If they all bring something to it, but I really like Colin Wilson's. I think he just really stands out. It's for the same reasons that yours. I think it's futuristic looking. It looks like it's the future and another planet.
Yeah, that's right.
And all of that, and he draws a really cool rogue.
Well, he was also saying he wanted to look. The future's not. He in his mind with sci-fi, because he's a big sci-fi buff apparently. He's saying the future isn't nice, and it is gritty, and it's horrible and dirty, and it's dystopian, and that's what he wanted to draw. He wanted to make you don't want to go to this place.
Yeah,
it's flipping terrible. Don't go there.
Yeah.
And you can see it's drawn like that. But I think the only reason he actually even got on to doing that is because Dave Gibbons, who created it, obviously he was busy because 2008 had so many projects for him, I presume.
Yep.
They knew his workload was going to be too big to actually carry on doing it.
Yeah.
And then Colin Wilson sort of covers it. I think even the Thrillcast I listened to, they were saying that they ended up photocopying pages that Dave I think had started on the art.
Okay.
And they gave them to him, and he obviously redrew them in his own vision or whatever. And that's how he got onto that. And because he didn't spend a long time, Colin Wilson, actually with 2000 AD. I think he was like
just under 2 years, maybe.
Yeah. So he came in. We just into it. He came in. He did a 10-page special for Dread, and some sort of a special item with this Christmas or whatever it was, a special. And then he did a few Future Shocks like they all do, cut their teeth.
Yep.
And then he got to go on to Rogue Trooper, and probably stayed a mainstay there. I think I wrote it down here. He did. So it was not long at all. He's Prog 236, so it's sent to Buzzard 3, where he meets the generals.
Yep.
And then obviously that Naught missile comes out of nowhere. They all bugger off in the life pods, and they burn up and they get to Earth, and he's like, well, we're all on the same. Anyway. But he goes through to Prog 289. And that's when he finishes Rogue Trooper. I think he nearly finishes up at 2000 AD then anyway. So it's not a huge amount of progs, right? 50 something.
Yeah, but there might have been
No,
some gaps that, you know, they wouldn't have run continuously.
Oh, I suppose so.
Yeah, they,
Yeah,
might,
true.
they,
Yeah,
could have, they
yeah,
would
because
have gone off for 6 months and come back
between
and
and
a
come back,
story.
yeah, yeah.
You'd get a-
But he was doing a few dreads in between and
Okay.
Yeah.
and things at the same time. But yeah,
So
he did a
short.
lot in less than 2 years. Because to be honest, I think I'd have to agree with both of you that Colin Wilson's probably the most consistently good artist on Rogue for me.
It's a really good way to put
Because
it.
I would have said Cam Kennedy, but I'm flicking through this book, and to be honest, I really love Cam Kennedy's. Some of his art pages, some of his pages are amazing. I mean, look how cool this looks. Where it looks
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that looks like
On the
Vietnam.
hoppers, eh?
On the hoppers,
Look,
racing.
that's- he looks
he's,
like Nam,
he's
right?
hanging out the door with the
Yeah.
rifle. And that whole
Yeah,
page
Huey,
looks
right?
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He draws the traitor awesome, you know, and
Yeah.
really nasty looking.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's not always as good as that. But when I look through the Colin Wilson
It's
pages,
consistent. His hoppers
so
are
clean,
His hoppers
very
are done
good.
really well.
Yeah,
the hoppers
and-
that he does.
and it's a bit more stylized. I just, yeah, he's very good.
It's terrific. I can't think of anything else that he was on. I mean, you say he did some dreads and things. Was he ever on another series, almost like as a regular within 2000 AD? Did he do anything else?
Not that I know of.
can't-
No disrespect to Colin Wilson if he's listening.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Well, actually, this
That-
is when our amazing little Thrill Power Overload book would come out. The first 40 years, we could actually look that up.
Because Colin was actually
You
saying,
guys
like,
keep talking. I'll have a little look.
You Google through the book.
I'll have a little book Google.
we'll stay on Colin Wilson because I like him anyway. But
Indeed.
the thing is, he was saying that he already knew it was a task, right? To draw a 6-pager
Yeah.
and get all that story out. He knew it was a task. I don't think it's because of his detail. He did so much
Yeah.
detail on his work that to do 6 pages and get it out and take it in on the Friday. I think he said he used to walk across the river, take it over on a Friday. He was saying, I think it was such a task, but he was building a portfolio, right? When you haven't done any work and you're starting to draw at say 30 or
course.
28, whatever it was.
Yeah, you do what you have to do.
Yeah, so you get it done, and
course you do.
you're living in England. You don't have a full time job, so you're trying to get money as well.
Yeah.
You need to do it, and that's where I think maybe he didn't want to stay as long because he wanted to go do other stuff anyway.
Yeah.
But he needed a portfolio when you've already got Dread under your belts and Future Shocks and Rogue.
It's
It's a pretty
great
good
amount of stuff you
portfolio,
can
right?
put under the nose of someone else
Oh,
and
yeah.
say, this is what I can do.
Yeah.
I think you're right in that, the technology, the interior scenes and things like that in particular,
Oh, yeah.
or the battle vehicles and things like that, stuff really stands out. Cam Kennedy, I think, did fantastic atmospheric stuff for the outside.
yeah.
You see when they're running through swamps and there was, there's all the gas clouds and all that kind of thing
Yeah.
on New Earth. I think he's perfect for that. Really great atmospherics, and Colin Wilson just absolutely nails the future weaponry
Future
and
tech.
all of that kind of future tech,
Future war.
all of that sort of stuff.
Um,
It's just
all the mechanics of it. You look at any of those turrets, even those hoppers that they fly around in, and I'm pretty sure he drew those. One of the coolest things I liked as a kid on it, and it would have been one of the random ones I bought, was the Nort Dreamweaver tanks. Do you remember those?
Not off the top of my head.
No,
What was that?
so the tank. It was a. They were,
is that the gas one?
Yeah,
the
yeah,
hallucinogens.
yeah,
Yes,
and
sorry.
so like there's a massive snake, and then there's like
Yeah.
I think there's like a massive snake, some other type of animal, and then all of a sudden there's like these beautiful women on there,
Right.
and these sailors for some unknown reason take off their masks,
They go,
and they'll suffocate, and Drake's like, what the flip? So he grabs like a lazooka, I think they call it.
Yeah.
And he takes down the tank, so he blows up the Dreamweaver tank.
Brilliant.
But there was this cool concepts like that, isn't it? I always loved stuff like that. And then there was always little plots with Rogue too, like he's impervious to everything, except that does he come into contact with like a flower or
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's a,
picks up some kind
some
of spore. or
yeah,
something,
yeah,
doesn't he?
and he becomes incapacitated.
there's a paralysis thing. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly. That's
and
right.
so these northers are coming, and like the little concepts like that I loved in Rogue because he went down, I think, and Gunner's there going, "What are you doing? What's going on?" And he realizes that he can't move, and he's like trying to get back up, but the northers find out, and I can't even remember the story that well, but they somehow find out,
yeah,
What, that he's paralysed?
yeah, that he's paralysed, and
Yeah.
this thing's caused it. They don't know what caused it, but they find out what actually
so
causes
there's
it.
something that can hurt him.
Yeah, so they try to
Yeah.
make a toxin for
Right.
it. I'm trying
Yeah.
to remember how that actually works into it.
Yeah.
But there was always things like that because it's future war, like anything with like say Dread and everything else in 2008, because it was a future, you could make up stuff and kids wouldn't be able to go, oh, that's not realistic, you know. And that's what I love about Rogue as well. And I mean, he's definitely. I mean, everyone loves Dread, or pretty much everyone loves Dread, right? 2000 AD, but Rogue would be in that legacy of characters. You know what I mean? He's up there with ABC Warriors and all these other things.
I think anyone that was reading it in the 1980s,
Yeah.
it would have been one of the mainstays and standouts. It would have been, like you say, ABC Warriors,
Yeah.
Judge Dredd, Road Trooper.
Yeah.
You go Slane.
Slane,
something
yeah,
like
of
that,
course,
like that,
Slane.
Strong Team
Yeah.
Dog.
Strong Team
this,
Dog.
You'd be your top 5 characters around that era, absolutely.
So
and enduring at the same time, that they...
And so with that though, he's obviously that good a character. He gets picked up by not 2000 AD, just 2000 AD, but IDW as well in America, right?
Yep.
I think they're an offshoot of Marvel or something.
Yeah, when they did the reprints and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But they got some really good cover artists to do those covers. It wasn't just an American guy doing it. I mean, they are reprints. Did they go into Eagle Collection with Rogue? They got an Eagle Collection or like
Don't know.
Quality
Your
Comics?
quality, but the odds when they did the Judge Child quest and all
Because
those.
they did everything else. They did Stand Steel Rat. They did like.
I always wonder how this would read in America.
I
Road
mean,
Trooper, I wonder.
it would be interesting to read in IDW. I haven't done. I kept the number 1 cover IDW. It was a reprint from like 2009 or 11 or something like this.
Okay,
I've
yeah.
kept it. Vaughan actually knows what I'm talking about, but it would read. I think it would read sporadic but fast because it's a 22 pager.
Okay.
Oh no, they'd just stretch it out, wouldn't they, from the 6
I think
pages to
you
22
probably would. I
pages?
think you probably do it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You make your frames way bigger.
Yeah. We've got a collection to fill later on. We need 6 issues, 1 story.
So that's how good that's how good Rogue is, right? He transcends from 2000 and they actually reprinted an IDW.
Yeah.
And that gets me on to the next point I was going to say is, I'm excited to see him in a movie, if it ever,
Eventuates.
yeah, because it was like Dredd, right? How long would it have taken to get the Dredd movie? And this guy's nowhere near as big a character as Dredd, unfortunately.
Which Dredd movie?
To get a good one.
Well, yeah. Sorry.
We don't want to
Well-
repeat of the first Dredd movie.
Yeah, but even that would have been hard to get across the line anyway. A character that wasn't created by someone in America in an American big budget movie like that, even though it wasn't the greatest movie. I definitely don't want to see that happen to Road Trooper.
No.
Not by any means.
You'd need someone like an Alex Garland who did the Dredd movie, the Carl
Yeah,
Urban
yeah.
one. You need someone who was genuinely a fan and gets it.
And
I'm not quite sure how.
gritty and dirty and don't try to flash it up too much.
And pick the right story and find the right way to tell it without it becoming just a...
Well, the Trader General is a good story. It's
That's
a
it.
good
Exactly.
movie. It's a
Exactly
good
what I was gonna
movie.
say,
and if you can get that into a movie
yeah,
and then tell it right and do the biochips right and all that kind of thing, it would be great to do.
somebody's done an amazing fan film
Oh, they have.
of Road Trooper.
Really?
It is a brilliant start. Like
Yeah.
All right.
if they could pick up something like that and run with it,
Brilliant.
it fits, and it's literally the beginning of the Quartz Massacre.
Well,
Yeah.
And
Because in a quarry,
very
it's in a
well
quarried area. I remember it.
Yeah, and that it is stunningly visual because at the beginning when they're all in those little pods and they're about to drop out of the sky and they're all falling out of the sky and then they realise it's a trap and they're just being blown to
Yeah.
pieces and pretty much Rogue's the only one that makes it safely down
Yeah.
to what is it, New Earth,
Yeah.
and then finds his mates, Gunner, Bagman, Helm,
Yeah.
starts cutting their brains open for the
Yeah.
biochips. Brilliant. And then just
what a
go
friend would
and then
do.
go from there. Yeah, but the story's already built, isn't it? You could do a movie so easily from that.
Yeah.
Find out who caused the massacre.
Yeah.
The story tells itself.
there's your story. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's
It's a perfect movie. You
Yeah,
can put
that is. But I can't remember the guy. It's Duncan Jones is writing it, right? Is it Duncan Jones writing the movie?
Really?
I'm just there might be speculation. I don't know. But
Be a good name though.
something like that. Anyway,
what's
but
he done?
I don't know. I think
Moon.
the guy's name's Duncan.
Moon. The one that's I'm sure Duncan Jones did the Moon one with Sam Rockwell. If you've not seen it, terrific movie.
Is it good?
A couple of years
I haven't
old.
seen it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The guy sort of on his own in the station on the moon. And if I tell you any more than that, it spoils the movie. Totally recommended though.
I
Yeah,
haven't seen it.
I think it's Duncan Jones, and he's writing it. And apparently, he's finished writing the script for it or whatever.
yeah.
But I mean, I don't know how complicated it is, but I mean that storyline. If you just did the Trader General storyline, which is the best part as far as I was concerned, of Road Trooper, and after that, I really lost interest in it. And because there was other characters I didn't really like. I think Major Magnum comes after
Yeah,
that. Once
that's
it,
what
and
that- yeah.
that was to me.
Crazy Gun.
It's when I stopped reading it, pretty much. My Road Trooper experience is basically that first half. Once he goes to Buzzard 3, finds out that the generals there, they will escape, and he starts hunting him down, and he ends up killing him. It's to me that's where it finishes for me
That's
anyway.
mission's over kind of at
Because
this point. Yeah.
they've tried to resurrect it a bit. They did Tor Cyan, It was like, wasn't he? What was he, Brian? He was like an ambulance, or like a medic or something. Do you remember?
I don't remember.
Tor Cyan, I think he was like a medic, a genetically engineered soldier, but he was a medic or something. I never read it because it just didn't appeal to me.
Yeah,
It was on New Earth though. It was based on New Earth as well.
all right.
And one you have read though was Friday. And so who's Friday?
Yeah, Friday was to be honest with you, main things I remember about it are the art and the fact that Dave Gibbons wrote it.
Oh,
And it didn't really resonate overly much beyond that. There's not a great deal that I remember of it. The mission is different. It's a new character. There's no biochips in it.
Yeah.
Oh,
so no biochips. So
no, because Dave Gibbons took them out.
He didn't like the idea of the biochips.
and he took them out. Yeah,
Really?
And so it becomes
that surprises me because that was a big part of it for me.
It's a big part of it. Yeah, exactly. And then
the interaction.
Before I think someone came along after that and rewrote it and put them back because people wanted them. And
of course. Who doesn't want a talking gun?
It's quite a key thing. Yeah, because I mean, they went down the road at one point of an even later reboot, and it was he had a mission. There was some sort of shadowy figure, and he kept teleporting him into these places, and he became a kind of an assassin, sniper type character.
Okay.
And it was trying to, I think, manufacture a mission, and it's maybe just my dodgy memory, some of the details of it. You know, there's these key figures in the war that need to be taken out, and we're going to send you in, and there was some sort of big twist to it.
Yeah.
And even then, I was kind of looking at it, going, no. I'm not really interested. I think Steve Dillon was doing the art, and that didn't hook me.
It was
from memory.
It was in my final years of 2000 AD actually, and the same thing. Yeah, Steve Dillon, and Stephen is a good artist, but it's to me he wasn't great on Road Tripper. I didn't particularly like him too much. And the story was boring. It made no sense. It was actually just plodding along. For who had gone from that real fast action to quite a slow thing, and he had to go around and try and assassinate. The first assassination took about 10 bloody progs, but it felt like it anyway.
Yeah,
it just
it was
went on and on.
It's like a weird quantum leap thing. You just drop him into quantum leap. Just drop into a situation and resolve this, and then next episode we'll do something else. It'll just be someone else to kill, and it just
and it was the aliens had given him the bloody
that was it.
These weird aliens that looked like Venus Blue Jean or
That's
something.
what it was.
And just said, "Oh, you are now got to start killing these people," and he just goes, "No, okay, well,
I'm a soldier. Okay, do as I'm told."
But it made no sense. It had no real storyline at all to that.
Yeah, it was
well, that's how Rogue felt.
I'm furious,
to me, after the Trader General.
he's beside himself here.
Yeah, but after Trader General, that's how it felt to me. It kind of lost its way a little bit. Like
I actually liked at the end of the Trader General series, he took back his buddies to the Millicom, their base. To face the music, to explain why he'd he'd gone rogue. Yeah. Rogue, why'd you go rogue?
Yeah.
And
my name. What am I to do?
And so the little biochips actually did get regened.
Yeah.
And they became new GIs, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
But then their bodies started falling apart after a bit because was it because of the flower that had given him paralysis? Halfway through, there was something he'd come in contact when he was on New Earth, and that had actually. Yeah.
I'm trying to think.
Affected the biochips in some way, so their bodies fell apart, and he had to go and search for a new thing back on New Earth, to actually pick up the cure for it.
There is that one storyline where Bagman kind of goes crazy because his biochip is degrading, or something's wrong with it.
Is that where he unpacks himself?
Yeah, I think it's the one where he unpacks himself.
We've showed me that picture before.
It unpacks
his little mechanical arm unpacks him.
Maybe it was related to that. That's just a guess. I'm not a little sure.
Maybe it has something to do with that storyline.
Yeah, because he finds that it's breaking down, something is going wrong with it, like it's degrading or something, and so he's concerned about trying to get him back, and maybe it was to do with that. But
I tell you what, the thing I liked about Road Tripper too, and it seems like a pretty simplistic story, right? Revenge, dude. He has to hunt him down. He's all those GIs are killed. They're all his friends, and he wants to get revenge on them. But I actually read an interesting story. It was way deeper, and it's one of the saddest stories I've probably ever read in 2000 AD. And it was in a sci-fi special. I actually brought it with me. I'm just going to grab it. And it was, two Naut troopers. Now they were going into a battle, and they were being forced up there by their lieutenant. So they go up to this site, and they're like, "Oh man, we should just go, man. We're getting murdered. There's no point, Like, why do we want to go up there? There's no point." So they go. He pretends that his mate's injured, or his mate gets injured. It's in the beginning. It's this 2000 AD sci-fi special. don't know what year it is. It's just one of the sci-fi specials. It's got Dredd, half a Dredd's face on it. So the very first story in it is a road trooper story, and it's called The Fanatics. Drawn really, really well. Jose Ortiz, I don't know him, but he does an excellent job on Pete Milligan writing.
He's a good artist.
So Pete Milligan, I do know from certain 2080 stories. He did a lot of DC stuff as well, I think, as well.
Bad Company, I think. Was it Bad Company? It was
Milligan McCarthy, wasn't it?
Milligan McCarthy, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, he used to write a lot with McCarthy, didn't he?
Yeah.
So they've got these two Naught troopers, and they're basically the futility of war, right? They're like, we don't want to go to this. What are we doing this for?
Jump in. That's really unusual for him to write a road trooper story, isn't it?
Pete Milligan.
Yeah. Possibly the only one he ever did. I don't recall him doing any other ones.
That's really crazy.
Maybe this might have been one of his tryouts, maybe.
Yeah, so this story starts with these two Naught troopers anyway, and they're basically forced into war, and it's that futility of war thing. Why do it? We're in a stalemate. Everyone just dies. Actually, nothing changes, type thing. So these guys get a bit down on it. So like, well, let's get a ploy to get out of here, right? So they see Road Trooper running through the Naughts, and I forgot to explain that. Yep. And I forgot to explain that the Naughts are kind of like these weird Soviet Nazi type guys, like all people who are bad guys really in 2000 AD, right?
What's the bad side again?
Like Nine, like Germans and the Commando, right?
Captain spelled with a K. And all
that type of thing, right? So these poor buggers are like trying to retreat, and they see Road Trooper running through his Naut soldiers, just ripping heads open, ripping off masks, killing everybody. Like, let's get the hell out of there. That's a Road Trooper, man. He's unstoppable. We can't beat this guy. And anyway, so they basically pretend that, I've got to take so-and-so back to the medic, I've got to get out of here. So anyway, they're threatened with death if they don't go to the front line. Anyway, I think Rogue shoots that general or captain, whatever it is, trying to force them into war. So they escape. They get away. And they're like, well, what are we going to do? So they see this abandoned Souther tank, and they're like, well, we'll take the Souther tank, drive it back through the Souther lines. Right? So they get into this tank, and then they think, well, this is a good plan. We'll just turn ourselves over, or we'll get taken prisoner, right? And then we don't have to fight war anymore. We're sick of it. Sure. So anyway, they get all the way back to the Souther tank, and you just see them getting up there, and they're getting rid of their weapons pretty much, getting up onto the tank. Anyway, Rogue shows up, and he's like, freeze, and they're like, oh, Stack, what's going on, And anyway, Gunner as usual, because, Gunner's theme through the thing is he's pretty gun-ho. He just wants to shoot everything.
Loose cannon?
Yeah, so they're going to escape and surrender to the Southers. The Gunner just opens up and kills them both. Cold blood. And then so Rogue obviously flips out on Gunner, going, you don't shoot until I basically tell you to shoot. So both of them die, and they take the mask off, and these poor buggers are dead. They were going to turn themselves over to the Southers. I just thought it was a really sad story.
Look how beautiful that art is.
And to see it from the other side.
Yeah, it's insanely good art.
You flip the.
Yeah, and to see it from the other,
rather than just the Southers, just from Rogue's perspective.
Starting to show them as actual, as people.
Yeah, as people, not just faceless soldiers out to murder and kill.
Pretty deep for a sci-fi special. Let's be honest. That's a pretty cool story.
What's it called? Road Trooper and the Fanatics.
The Fanatics, yeah, and it was one of the saddest ones I've seen. It's great art.
What's the year down there?
Sci-fi special, 1986.
1986.
So yeah, still back in the semi early days. Still 9 years old.
Yeah.
But that was a really, if you want to read a really good 2000 AD story about Road Trooper, that's actually a really good one. It's a standalone story. It's very cool. It doesn't continuate.
You can't see it from here, but really cool art.
That art is actually amazing.
Remarkable.
But there was lots of even themes like that in Road Trooper. There were still things like his interactions with Venus Blue Jeans, right? Who, Vaughn, you said it was quite odd that when you first see Venus Blue Jeans, he's wearing a bikini, right?
Oh no,
is that the first time?
I don't know if that's the first time you see her, but they do come across her. Yeah, on a desert island, pretty much.
I can't remember her.
She's crash landed.
She's a genetically engineered.
She's a female genetically.
So she's still a trooper, though. She's a soldier, or whatever.
Absolutely, yeah.
I can't remember that well.
And she's Gunner's girl, or Gunner thinks that she's his girl, or some such, and this is all.
Well, Vaughn's saying that Rogue goes away to do something, right? And so he leaves Helm with her.
Yeah,
is that right?
Yeah. And he goes, Harmless goes, don't worry, Venus, I'm here. And she goes, get off me, you weak piece of shit, and throws her in the fucking garbage.
Oh, hi, Rogue, you're back.
So that's the other.
But yeah, the thing is though that she's on this island, they've crash land, and he comes across her just randomly. But it did make me laugh that she's in a little bikini.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, absolutely. You know, like she's
What
a
was the
full on,
demographic
she's a
of
full on,
2008
she's
at
a
that
full
point?
on soldier. But
Oh, she's hot though too.
What's the audience they were aiming for?
yeah,
yeah.
Dora very nicely. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hello.
absolutely. And that's the thing. Like with those stories too. You've got road trip.
Sexy little nurse's outfit.
Yes, all right.
It's a different kind of comic I think you're looking for.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oink.
You can probably still find it, but it's...
You would never have found that annoying. That sort of trash. But you have the one thing I was always surprised about with Road Trooper, right, is that you've got this guy designed for war. His only purpose is to go to war and fight campaigns. He's wearing no shirt. Mm-hmm. This is only a question that I ask, but they give him a helmet, obviously, to protect his head. That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
He has his gun. He's got no shirt, but he wears trousers and boots.
He doesn't want cock swinging around.
Yeah, but you don't.
Right.
Well, you don't need that if you're a soldier is out there for war. You don't have genitalia. You just genetically modify that. You know, he doesn't even eat. I don't even see him eating the whole thing. So he doesn't need to eat either.
He might use it as a straw.
Yeah,
You know,
drinks water. But like, I just found that odd.
Is that the biggest burning question you guys have got at Road Trooper? Is he anatomically correct?
wow.
Well, he could be perfectly smooth like an action man down there. I don't know. But what? But
He's
I'm
a
just-
clone. He doesn't need to be
He's a clone.
procreating.
That's the thing, yeah. How do you... Yeah, well, why does Gunnar need a girlfriend then?
yeah,
Good question.
Because
Yeah.
it's good for the plot.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
that's what
yeah.
romance.
yeah. Well, I don't know. That's
Only biochips.
yeah. Well, like with
I was
Denver,
just thinking that protects Rogue's head. Protects Helm, not at all.
No,
If he
because
gets
it's what you're
hit-
aiming for, right?
If he gets shot in the head,
Because the biochips
the
right at
biochip's
the
getting
front of the
blown to
helmet.
smithereens.
Yeah, so he's doomed.
Yeah, but there's certain things
Where
that
were we?
yeah. So get back on track, right? So there's certain things with
Bram took an awkward turn down.
To be fair, it's Venus Blue Jean's fault, I think is what you're saying. And
absolutely,
it's
yeah,
all
well,
about
yeah.
bikini.
Like every woman, I've said this before, and Vaughan doesn't think it's true. Every female character that he meets seems to meet tries to kill him.
Yes, Sister Sledge, Venus Blue Jeans.
So-
yeah.
You know,
Any weird town he goes into.
that's perfect for a young lad reading this magazine. By the way, learn things early, right?
Yeah, it didn't screw any of us up at all. We're all
Yeah.
good.
We're absolutely perfectly fine. But yeah, so for Road Trooper, I mean, there's Tor Cyan after that, and there's Friday, and we discussed those two.
Mm-hmm.
Is there ever a crossover with Road Trooper? I meant to ask. Is he? I mean, because sometimes you have a slight crossover with, say, you know, like with Invasion, you've got the ABC Warrior. Well, you know, Hammerstein. robots.
Jaeger.
Yeah.
But so is there any crossovers with Road Trooper?
There's that. What's that?
What did you say, Jaeger?
Jaeger, isn't it? There's a new comic, a new story out called Jaeger. I think he turns up. It's about the Nort war crimes investigations or something. Yeah, and so there's.
yeah, that's right.
She actually goes around. I think he does pop up in there sometimes
Yeah.
as himself as Road Trooper.
Okay. Oh, a Friday as in Friday.
No, I think it's.
or
I think
actual
it's. I
Road?
think it's
Original
Road.
Road.
Yeah, I think it's original
Proper
Road.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
that's something I actually probably.
That I might have got that completely wrong because I'm not up to date with that.
No, I think I
think
actually read that somewhere.
Yeah. Nothing in the time that I was reading, say, inside the first 1,000, there was none of that. It was all pretty well standalone.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah.
Reboots notwithstanding. So.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is I was just looking when I was looking through that book about Colin Wilson. It's in the back of the this phone book, Rogue Trooper Tales of New Earth. It actually says Wilson did pencils on that Tor Cyan.
Oh, really?
Oh, all right.
What's it say here? It says Wilson was a key early Rogue Trooper artist and also penciled Future Shocks, Judge Dredd, Pulp Sci-Fi, and Tor Cyan. As well as he co-created series Rain Dogs. I don't know what that is.
No, got me there.
No, I didn't heard of that one either. There's quite a few good artists on that also. So you got Mike Dory, Cam Kennedy, Colin Wilson, Dave Gibbons, Bill Nuttall, who's
It's a good list.
Bill Nuttall, who's a letterer. I think he led us to spend every single prop. I mean, I couldn't say that
In
for
that
sure.
first book, eh?
Yeah, in
first
the
series.
In the first series, that's a lot of progs. Bill Nuttall, and they never really get enough. You know, you got Tom Frame. They talk about them a little bit, but Bill Nuttall, he's led it every single one.
You,
of those,
Paul,
so I
you,
don't know.
you pointed that out. I actually hadn't really heard the name Bill Nuttall that much.
No,
to be honest. It's
yeah,
usually
no,
Tom
it's
Frame
probably
and
massively
remember Tom
famous,
Frame
aren't they?
Annie Parkhouse.
Annie
and-
Parkhouse,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, but I don't.
2008 was wordy in those days too.
Oh
A
yeah.
lot
Yeah,
of dialogue,
yeah.
a lot of stuff going on in there, and sound effects, and
Yeah.
all of those kinds of things. It's-
But you're right. He seems to have done every single. That's years and years worth of work. He's done them all, right from the that first issue.
consistent.
So I'll just carry on with Rogue. There's some other things that it's a very similar thing with a lot of 2000 AD stuff, right? There's not a huge amount of merch for Rogue Trooper.
No.
Like you don't see really any action figures I know of. I mean, in England it could be different. I don't know, but you don't see. I haven't seen any action figures. I've only ever seen them outside 2000 AD and say IDW,
Yeah.
the Marvel stuff we just talked about before.
There's the game.
Forbidden Planet.
Now the game, this interests me. I've never played it, but it looked good, and there was a Redux version of it.
Yeah. Got the Redux version is on PlayStation Store on PS4, and I've played the first level, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty
Oh, so
true.
you've got
to-
it?
Pretty
You
true
actually
too.
played it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll show you guys later if you like.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could show it now, but it's audio.
So is it,
Yeah.
what, is it like a first-person shooter or something?
No, third person, but
Yeah.
all the biochips are there. He's blue.
Yeah.
He's on the planet.
And they talk to you while you're
Earth,
playing
and
the
all
game.
that
and
sort of
stuff?
thing, and you've got missions and things. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Do you say PS4?
PS4, yeah, I've got
Yeah,
a
so it's
PlayStation
late.
4.
Yeah, it's awesome, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I'm not
pretty
sure if it was
impressive.
a remaster off the PS3, perhaps. Or,
Yeah.
or
I think
whatever.
you will have to crank that up
Yeah,
later.
we're going to have
Yeah.
to look at this. Yeah,
Definitely look at it.
And we're done now, so thanks.
Yeah. So, but
Forbidden Planet, though, Bram, has done. I think they've got, what is it, Planet Replicas? Or
they've probably got what?
things.
Yeah, the Planet Replica
statues.
stuff.
They actually
Yeah.
brought out Helm.
Oh, yeah.
A
actually,
full
no, you're
size,
right.
full size Helm,
Yeah.
and it sold out like within minutes. I think
That'd be cool.
it was awesome,
That
man.
would be cool.
They also had a Bagman,
Okay.
which I think
It's
if
actual
you-
backpack.
It's an actual backpack.
Yeah, I've seen it.
And if you ordered it, if you were the first few to have ordered it, you actually got the free grenades to stick on the
Oh, yeah.
like little foam
Yeah.
grenades to put on there.
Perfect.
Nice.
But yeah, it's Planet Replicas.
Someone's also done a really good job of doing a 3D printing of the actual gun.
That's gun as well.
right.
I actually heard a funny thing about Rogue Trooper, and it was on Space in 2000 when they first started reading Rogue, and they were saying, well, why have they got this shielded sheath area where your hand goes in? Is it because the guy couldn't draw hands or something? And it's like, there's no way that's true, because if you look at 2000 AD, there's so much people in every panel. Of course they draw hands.
You know what?
It's just a cool design.
It's a smart thing, though, isn't it? That saves a hell of a lot of time.
Especially when you've got the gun as a main
Trying to draw
character.
fingers. It's
Yeah.
like, maybe that was why. Maybe Dave was in a
Probably
hurry.
could be. Probably
Maybe
could
that was
be.
it. Who knows?
It's a time saver not to have to draw one hand. You know?
Especially if you're doing a close up with Rogue and Gunner and they're all talking in a panel, like, yeah, I suppose it does save time.
Yeah.
But what I mean is saying that Dredd, he doesn't really carry his gun around all the time, does he?
There's holsters and stuff.
Yeah. Maybe that's why I made Hammerstein with a hammer hand.
Well, this is easy.
Let's draw this mallet.
In the old days, when the Forbidden Planet ads used to be in the comic and all that, remember, always used to think that it was cool. There was a Judge Death statue and all that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
You get. Off the top of my head, I can't really recall there ever being anything for Rogue.
No.
I can't, and I don't even.
Well, lots of other characters, but
I mean, you see some action figures that they've done for Dread's universe, and they're pretty horrendous.
Yeah.
There are some good statues, but a Rogue statue I haven't really seen, and it would. I think it would sell well. I mean, if Rogue's known in America now, there's no reason why someone wouldn't
I
buy
think
that.
there'd be a collector market for it. I'd have one.
Is it something to do with the ownership of the character or something? I mean, I don't know.
I'm not all sure how it works. I guess
Yeah.
Rebellion owns all of it now, and if they might license it out or whatever. But
Yeah.
there'd be some pretty cool cosplay options in there if you were prepared to paint yourself blue and go around shirtless at a Comic Con or some such. Or,
Yeah, well, they do it with Hulk all the
Or down
time,
again,
right?
but-
People
well,
paint
yeah.
themselves green.
True. Yeah.
And you can be, and same with Hulk, right? You can either be denim blue jeans, or you can be Rogue, or
Well,
woman or man,
There
or
you
whatever.
Get old Venus in the bikini.
you get the
Yeah.
bikini.
Done.
Again with the bikini.
Oh, Venus blue
You're,
jeans, sorry.
Yeah, you found a theme, haven't you?
Yeah.
Okay. You sit in the corner and read your book.
So yeah, as far as characters go, I mean I just really wanted to do a podcast for myself because I really like Rogue Trooper. That was my favourite character. It's the first dude I've come into contact with really in 2000 AD of the first comic I bought. So that's probably made it nostalgic for me anyway. Knowing that a Kiwi drew on it later on in life, that's why I reread
I
it.
never knew at the time.
Otherwise, I would never reread it. Honestly, if Vaughan had told me, "Hey, the Kiwi guy worked on that," I would have probably never rebought it.
Bram got himself a little sketch from Colin Wilson of Rogue Trooper.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to do that.
Of course.
Yeah, I was
Anybody had to do Rogue.
lucky enough to do that, and then and that's where I got that the print that you've got.
Got the Dread, yeah.
the Dread
That's
print.
place on the wall in the
You got
workspace.
that straight off him, didn't you?
Yeah, and
Sure,
honestly, he was
in the spare.
I think like most 2000 AD artists and stuff too, they're hugely warming people to talk to if you ever meet them at a Armageddon, like in we have an Armageddon or any other pop culture event. Most of those artists are pretty good, and even in direct contact with people when you want to get artwork from some of these artists, they're actually really personable way, you know.
It's brilliant.
They're ready and willing, eh?
Yeah, well,
Nice.
and it only adds to you buying more stuff, like Road Trooper books and stuff. It's like collected works are so easy to get through 2000 AD now. It's worth doing.
Yeah. Rebellion's doing a really good job of that now. It's brilliant that they're actually putting this stuff out, and you can get things like the Tales of New Earth, and they're doing these ultimates
yeah.
and getting that stuff.
Well, I was
back out
just looking
again.
through
Because
your
there's a-
Ultimate collection
Yeah.
here, Brian.
Yeah.
The art inside, the reproduction inside of that is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's very,
But
very
it's
good.
also good to see that Road Tripper's got. How many books has he got in that new Ultimate collection? 'Cause that's unusual.
5 off the top of my head.
5 of Just Rogue.
5 just Rogue.
Yeah, that's good, eh?
Yeah, it does. It skips an arc. It skips the Friday bit, from what I can see.
Yeah.
And goes to sort of back to classic Rogue, and that's pretty cool. That suits me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you get a really good run of them.
Sorry, did
and
you
then-
say that you read the Friday arc?
I did. Yeah,
At the
originally
time?
at the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
In the originals, in the singles. Yeah. Yeah, it was kind of, and the art was cool, but it just wasn't a particularly interesting story. You know, it didn't
Yeah.
really. You know, the kind of Rogue was established. I'm not quite sure why you would try and do it again. You know, why you try and restart it and just it looks the same, but it's a different character.
Yeah.
It's a weird choice. I think.
Well, it's got, that's how it reads when you read that the Trader General's type story arc.
Yeah.
You're like, this is really good, and even as a kid, even as an adult, you read it, it's really good. The concept's excellent, and then it just tapers off a lot, and they start to introduce a few characters, and it for me, personally, it wasn't what I remembered. You know, like it didn't have the same feel anymore.
Funny
like
enough,
you killed him.
Dave Gibbons actually didn't really like doing
Oh, really?
Road Trooper. He actually got bored of it real quick, and that's why it got pushed on to Colin Wilson
Oh,
and other
really?
artists and stuff.
Yeah.
And he was really unhappy with he just didn't like the scripts for it
Yeah.
very much, and he was trying to rewrite it constantly. So it's funny that he's obviously tried to go back, do it his way in the series Friday, and it just did not work.
And it didn't take.
Whereas Jerry Finley Day's one was spot on
Yeah.
for the age it was aimed for us, and to be honest, it's lasted really
Yeah.
well. I can read it all the time.
I'll tell you one excellent point about Road Trooper over a lot of other 2000 AD things,
Yeah.
other stories, that also makes it way better than most of the stories. Doesn't have a ridiculous side character. Doesn't have
Yeah.
a Walter. Doesn't have a Feek.
it's still
Doesn't
not
have a
like a Walter
Grobbledonk.
away.
Doesn't have a. It doesn't have any of those
Grobbledonk.
things. It doesn't have. It doesn't have any of those ridiculous. And that, to me, it was a redeeming feature probably of the Road Trooper.
Yeah.
I mean, it has the biochips, but they're necessary and they do shit.
They're all complete characters
Yeah.
for themselves.
Yeah.
They're not
Yeah.
just there for
Yeah.
humour's
It's not
sake.
comic relief.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not just,
comic- yeah.
just not to flesh it out.
I mean, I actually would have hated if Gunner was constantly trying to be the wacky little sidekick. They would have killed it for me. But they're actually 3 good, and actually they do get angry as well.
Oh, yeah, they
within
have
the
emotion.
series because they're emotional. They're
Yeah.
sick of being biochips. They just want to be regened and turned back into people.
Rogue's in charge. He's got to look after them. He gets sick of them too. It's,
Oh,
all
yeah,
this
he's
stuff goes on. It's
babysitting
cool
them.
character stuff.
Well, there was that one where Rogue goes to sleep. He's too tired to clean
Gunner. Well, you were going to say that.
And
yeah,
it gets,
so he cleans himself.
so Gunner actually, Rogue Trooper falls asleep. He wakes up. He's about to be attacked, so he goes to grab Gunner, who's self-cleaning himself, and he's inoperable, so he's
Right.
and
Okay.
he's burning out all the shit, so he's bright, hot. So he has to go hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah, with Nort. So.
And afterwards, when Gunner's finished and they've cleaned up the knots and
flips
everything's
out.
back, he absolutely flips out and says, "You ever do that again without my permission, I'll snap you over my knee."
Yeah.
I've forgotten that one.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. That's
Yeah.
really cool.
It's a really
Yeah.
good one, So he
Fighting
doesn't
with my
make.
gun.
Oh yeah, well the thing is that they do actually get a bit shitty with each other
Yeah.
because they are all sick of each other's company. It's not all always friendly, banter
Yeah,
and
that's right.
shit. It's
Yeah.
good. It's and that's real life, really, isn't it?
Well, and that's one of the best concepts of Road Tripper, right? You get that roller coaster ride with that as well. Personalities clashing, but the good thing is what I said before. It's not a side character, right? They're a main part of the storyline.
Yeah.
and it just
Integral,
garnishes the whole
Absolutely.
thing.
I wonder if it. Just a thought that occurs. I wonder if it was a story which maybe was only designed to go to the end of the Trader General.
I think it was.
Do you know? And then it's one of those ones that took off and became that popular that it got bigger, and they could do stuff with the character bits and things like that. Because it could be like a Meltdown Man, which was very clearly it was an end to end. It's a story that's got a start to finish, and it was never going to go any further than that. Maybe Rogue was intended to be like that, and then see where it goes. And maybe just kicked off.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised because a terrific character.
I think that's the way it was, because there was even I mean, I didn't hate the storyline, but that Dixie Lines, I don't remember Dixie Lines, where he goes into that fort and it has all these different sectors, like there's a French Quarter and that was a part of the story that as a kid I was like, yeah, it's cool to see these robots and there's all this stuff in there, and it's good, but it took away from the war story a little bit, and I don't know.
Was that in the second series?
I can't remember off the top of my head. It may even be in the first set of the storyline with the Attorney General. I can't remember, but I just remember it took away from the story a little bit, and
they were trying to extend it out maybe a little bit.
Or
too
make it
far
interesting, make it more interesting background. You didn't need it with
There's
Rogue.
lots more fleshing out. I mean, in the later ones, I think they meet some other aliens, and it becomes some other storylines around that. It's not just the Norths and the Southers anymore. You get to a point, I suppose, where you do start to expand things to try and stretch the story.
Yeah,
it's not all just background.
Yeah,
but for the core story, I think it was it's definitely still classic. You read it today, and it reads like you could read it like it was written today.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so that's pretty much Road Trip. Is anything you guys want to add to that?
I want the movie now. Now that you've read
I really want the movie.
I think the movie would be cool. Done right, I think it would be terrific.
I hope it.
I still want a Dread sequel, but that's a different question.
Yeah, Dread sequel and a Rogue.
And a Rogue Trooper. Yeah.
Well, that who would actually? This is interesting.
I actually think a Rogue Trooper movie would be better and easier done, and actually a more enjoyable movie than something like Strontium Dog or.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Well, I would think Strontium Dog would be amazing, but Rogue Trooper is just so easy to do.
Would be easy. The story's already there. There is actually one story you can pick on. With Strontium Dog, there's so many you can choose from. Which one do you take?
Yeah.
This one, it's right there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like that. The Road Trooper movie would, like you say, it's already there. You know that he got betrayed. He wants revenge.
Yeah.
That's your story, and you can just about. I mean, it doesn't adapt immediately to a movie, but good concept. I want to say, who would you want to have as the Road Trooper?
You get a fan cast. Oh
yeah. Who would you pick for that?
Oh. Wow, I don't know.
I'm not good at picking out people. Like
I've got one immediately because the face reminds me of Road Trooper.
Go on then.
Oh, you're gonna love it, Dolph Lundgren.
I knew you were going to say it, dick.
Well, no, his face is and he stays in good
he's
shape.
He's about 100 years old.
But he's
now.
not super muscly like. No, he's not. He's not even that. He's not even in terrible shape now. He's still in excellent shape.
You know who I'd go?
Who?
Vin Diesel.
What?
You know what?
Vin Diesel for Rogue.
I'd agree with that. He'd be okay with that.
Vin Diesel Rogue.
I told you he was good. Bloodshot.
Sci-fi movie.
He was like the Riddick type.
Pitch Black.
Yeah, Pitch Black. Riddick.
Yeah, he was great on that, and actually, it's quite a similar sort of style.
He was good in Bloodshot. You didn't see it, but did you watch Bloodshot?
No, I've not.
He was actually good in that. Right. I enjoyed that Bloodshot movie.
Okay.
But, Vin Diesel. Oh, I can see it.
Well, that's 2-1.
Only because of the Riddick thing, he was good in that, and actually it would actually suit that kind of style.
You know, he's going to get that be a soldier look, helmet on him. You know, you're not looking for an enormous amount of emotion.
No, it's right.
If I'm honest, fan of Vin Diesel, don't get me wrong. But I think you could do it. You probably end up with Jonah Hill or someone being one of the biochips or something like that. So let's not, but you know, wacky sidekick.
See, that's the thing. If it is done by an American studio, they will add some American humour in it, which will just.
Yeah.
Who's that little dude in the first Dread movie? Rob Schneider, is it?
No. Yeah. See, if they need
you're going to get that.
Bigelow.
If they try to add something like that in,
it would
lost on
die
me.
death.
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
That's why you need a fan. You've got to have a fan doing it.
And I suppose maybe that's why he's taking so long. Maybe the budget is quite low, which I think the Dread budget was amazingly low, and it was became a cult classic, right? But it didn't make a lot of money. So if you're an outfit like that, you're looking to make money, right?
The cash.
But Road Tripper could very well go along that Carlo Barton lines, where you get a guy that's not massively well known, although he starred in a lot of things before that. You may get that, and that to me would probably make a way better movie. Quite honestly,
I would prefer that too. If it was an unknown that did a good job, that would be my sort of
Sure.
But to be honest, if you gave it to someone like Vin Diesel, who picked it up and did it properly, like Carl Urban did with Dredd, because he is quite a popular actor in
Yeah.
America, it would give the movie
That's
a real
nice.
running chance.
Bit of credibility, I
Yeah.
suppose.
But it
because
just
of
needs to
action
be
films.
done properly. That's all.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, very much so.
Okay,
We
so
live in hope.
so that's pretty much us for Road Tripper, I think. Unless you guys want to add anything to it.
No, that's good. I think
chat.
we covered it. So this is
Yeah.
just one character
Yep.
out of a whole selection we could have done
Yeah.
from 2000 AD.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a real mainstay from the 80s, at least for me. It's a shame he kind of petered out a little bit.
Oh yeah, I mean sometimes, like you say, when your audience is so passionate about that because of the first part of the storyline, then they'll read progs for quite long after, and you notice with other stories they'll keep reading that prog because they think it's going to get good again,
Yeah.
and then really, like say, people have got tired of it with the writer and that just tapers off. But there's a recommendation: if you like war stories, you've never read Road Tripper, you like war stories, you like pretty strong personalities, if you like good versus evil, on a really dystopian, crappy planet, with the end outcome of the first part story, which I love, the Trader General, him getting revenge on him, and his buddies getting regened and stuff like this, it's a good read. So you can start Prog 228 in the progs, or get the collected works. Either or both excellent option. It's better to have the originals. It's very hard to get them in good condition. So maybe go collected works. So that's me from Bram from Fidian Comics and Collectibles, signing off for Road Tripper. Thank you, Brian, for joining us.
Thanks for asking. Pleasure.
Thanks for coming along, Vaughnie.
Thanks, mate. It's good.
Okay, so thanks for listening. That's Road Tripper, and we'll be back to you soon with another episode. Thanks for listening.